Welcome, intrepid soldiers, to another episode of Poets at War. Today on the show, we have a General's Report, the penultimate to the General's 100th episode. Number 99, he speaks about what's going on currently in his life and gives a preview for episode 100 of the General's Report. Also, we have Brood Tales, featuring the first episode of our General's urban fantasy, Craic In The World, titled Come Together. But first, reports from the front on Poets at War. This is another Poets at War General Report. And here's your General, Joshua David Ling.
Good luck.
What's up, everybody? It's a late one tonight. I am burning the midnight oil tonight. Got a lot of recording to do, lots of other things to do. I'm going to be moving on to getting a lot more of my stuff on eBay, start cutting back on some of the things that I have, and start moving toward putting that money away for some pretty cool and important stuff. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about, some of you don't. The other things that I did today, one of them was to release, well, yesterday I released Craic In The World. You're going to be hearing that if you're listening to Poets at War. I recorded Craic In The World episode 1, which is called Come Together, and it is going to be part of Brood Tales, so stay tuned for that if you're listening to Poets at War. If not, it's coming up pretty soon. Or you can check it out on the Joshua David Ling channel. Craic In The World is a story that is, it's spelled C-R-A-I-C, like the Irish word crack. And it is a story about an American moving to Ireland and encountering some people and a metaphysical reality that he had no clue about, and is one of the main protectors of that metaphysical reality. So it's a crazy, wacky urban fantasy in Ireland set in modern day, and you should check it out if you get a chance. There's werewolves. The other thing that I did today was I created something called Pipersoft. Pipersoft is an applet. As you know, many of you know, I've been talking about this last several General's reports about applets and that sort of a thing. I created one that allows me to have video loops that play silently alongside musical score, and those are activated by links in my text. So basically, like half of the frame or so, you can adjust it. Half of the window of your browser is the video, and half of it is the text. And I can link the text to activate different videos and sound, and both the videos and the sound crossfade. So it's going to be a really fun and interesting tool. I can also rotate the video so that I can, for example, take my iPad and read upside down to the person in front of me. It looks like the words are upside down. I can read off of the upside down portion and hold the tablet in front of me, and they can see the video and follow along with the story and hear the music and that sort of a thing. I can also, connect it to somebody's TV because it just runs in the browser. And I can tell stories that way in their living room, just speaking out loud. Or I can connect it to a big stage situation with a second monitor down in front of me so that I can read it and control things as I go, with like a mouse or some kind of input. Probably my phone. I use a remote app on my phone that allows me to do mouse input, and that's probably how I would do it. And it could be up on a big projector behind me on a stage, right? So there's for the audience. And so there's a lot of options there. And I'm really excited to try and test it out in some busking situations, hopefully soon. So yeah, lots of different things going on there. Hopefully can make some money doing that. With all of those things being said, the next General's Report is going to be General's Report 100. It will be the 100th General's Report. And I'm going to do a little bit of a longer one next time. I'm going to be doing it specifically on the doctrine of predestination. because looking back over these last 100 episodes, the biggest and most important thing that has bolstered not only my existence, but my creativity and fueled my desire to help other artists is the doctrine of predestination. And I don't think that I can understate that enough. I'll be expressing it as best as I can, hopefully within 30 minutes, but I might go longer. It's going to be a long one, and it's going to be a celebration of 100 Generals reports. So everybody, we appreciate you. If you're listening to Poets at War, continue on.
You're listening to Operation Brood Tales. Stories from all over the broad expanse of our Brood Empire. Tales to encourage, to edify, and to win the hearts and minds of the world. Bringing everyone stories for their heart for generations to come. And now, Operation Brood Tales on Poets at War.
Craic In The World, Season 1, These Last Days, Episode 1, Come Together, by Joshua David Link.
Ninth Ward raised, but my blood runs green through these Irish streets where nothing's what it seems. Grandma's stories about the she-folk hiding in plain sight. Now I'm living what she told me every single night. Running with the crew that's straight up supernatural, while these government suits acting extraterritorial. Different colored eyes caught me between two worlds. Now reality's unraveling and truth gets unfurled. Got that protection written in my DNA, while these ancient powers picking sides like chess they play. Nola taught me magic, Island showed me more. Now I'm guardian of gates that shouldn't open anymore.
World's about to crack. There's no turning back. Between the veils of then and now, following ancient tracks. Some call it fate, some call it mad. When worlds collide like that, but when the crack is calling, there's no holding back. Holding back.
Jay Grogan was a little boy, raised in New Orleans. His parents had a hard time keeping up with him. Every night they'd drink themselves green. They were never abusive to Jay Sean, but he had to fight for his life. At school, at the corner, and in between, his young days were full of strife. One day Jay Sean had had enough. It was time for him to break free. So at 16, he stowed away on a ship, and to Ireland he did flee. His gram wrote him letters from her home there, so to Ballyshannon he'd go. He'd seek a new life on the Emerald Isle, and his gram he'd finally know. He found his gram without a problem. She took care and pulled some strings. She got him Irish citizenship, among many other things. Those 6 years with her were loving and carefree. Until one day she died. Peacefully, she drifted off in her sleep. But before she'd slept, she'd tried to write Jay Sean about something important, but it looked like gibberish. Symbols and letters all jumbled up. Was one of them a fish? Jay Sean inherited the house and put the message away. He always thought Graham a little crazy, but he'd find out one day exactly how sane old Grandma was. The clock of time ticked by, and this is where our story truly begins, in the middle of July. The streets of Ballyshannon hummed in the middle of afternoon. Light drizzle served to paint the town in a thin but substantial gloom. Jay Sean walked, hands in pockets, feeling alone and lost. But that was certainly nothing new. His life had had quite a cost. But just as Jay began to despair, destiny hit him hard. A petite young woman running full bore slammed into him, and both were jarred. Both took a moment to collect themselves, and Jay Sean saw her face. The palest countenance he'd ever seen. She was a creature of grace. Her platinum blonde hair was almost white, and the only color to be seen was in her bicolored smiling eyes. one orange, the other green. "You all right? Why were you running?" He was answered before he knew. A man in a suit stepped around a corner, continuing to pursue. He pulled out a gun from his coat and pointed at the girl. Jason took the pale girl's hand, and into the crowd they whirled. Shots were fired into the air, making the crowd scatter quick. Jason pulled her through an alleyway that with people was less thick. They rounded a bend and came to his house. He fumbled around for his keys. He unlocked the door and they stepped inside. "Would you tell me, please, why is Agent Smith there? And why is he mad at you? What in God's green earth and Sam Hill did you do?"
"Why did you bring me here? Did you pick that lock?"
"What?" Jason said, his confidence rocked. "What are you talking about? Are you mental or something? Why in the world was that man coming at you like that with gun in hand?"
"You have her eyes. Do you know the plan?"
"Do I sound like I know some secret plan? And who is she? Do you mean my gran?" Just then, the lock on the door was shot, and the gunman kicked right in. Jason disarmed the man in a second, twisting his wrist, breaking the limb. He slammed him to the ground and got on top. With his forearm, he choked the gunman out. He rose and took the gun in hand. "You better tell me right now. Who are you, girl? And what is this plan?" Jason began to tie up the gunman who'd been chasing her. She looked frightened and worried and struck with awe, but definitely sure that she could trust Jason with her life. He'd just saved her right here. She took a deep breath to calm her nerves and silence any lingering fear.
"Was your grandmother Lydia Grogan? And what are you doing there?"
Jason picked up his phone to call the police and get them there. "I'm calling the fuzz. What's it look like?"
"Oh, please, don't call them now."
"Girl, you must be hella insane. You think I'm gonna stop now?" The woman grabbed the phone from his hand and slammed it on the receiver, then spoke fast and trembling, spilling out words almost like she had a fever.
"My name is Zoe Wallace, around here anyway, but my real name is Ione Ashling, and you saved me this day. I knew your grandmother from years ago. She was my last protector, and now I'm alone. Though, are you her blood, or were you adopted? I guess it doesn't much matter. The job of protector is so simple."
"Are you done with your chatter? Zoe, is it? You knew my gram?"
"Yes, she was wonderful to me. She knew our fight to keep Otherworld and this world strong and free. From the ripples of the event that caused the rift in time."
Whoa, 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 Dimensional Girl, I think you lost your mind. I'm calling the cops whether you like it or not. You can stay or get out, but don't think of trying anything funny. I ain't afraid to choke you out." Zoe frowned. Her eyes pleaded with him, but she got up and ran. She sprinted past the broken door, back into the streets of Ballyshannon.
"And you're sure he just busted in by himself? No one else was involved?"
"I told you 7 times, officer. I don't care if it can't be solved. No one else was here when he shot my lock. I fought him and I won. Is that such a big shock?" The cop frowned and moved along, not daring to ask any more of the grandson of that crazy old woman who lived at address 204. The cops left and Jay was finally alone with himself and with his thoughts, so he turned to Google for the answers he sought. He found a lot of crazy speculation on the albino girl with 2 different colored eyes who had just rocked his world, but only one result was local, and it came from a blog, from a local bookstore that was only a 15-minute jog. Jason shut his computer down and left his home without a lock, and he set out for Craic Olish, just around the block. Craic Olish was a small storefront. Jason had passed before. It was a hole in the wall just down the street, and very obviously a bookstore. But there was an eeriness that seemed to loom just beyond its doors. The dark green paint hid something inside, and Jay's mind played on him Ed Wars. But he pressed on and went inside, and it smelled very musty. The books on the shelves were mostly very old, dingy, faded, and dusty. Then he navigated the labyrinth of bookshelves to the front counter in the back, which sat next to a cage for ancient books and other valuables to be kept. A little woman about 30 years old with a brunette braid popped out, almost like a meerkat from his den, and she greeted him with a shout.
Welcome to Diok Olish. Can I help you today, kind sir? Looking for anything in particular, or are you not yet sure?
She pushed her glasses up on her nose and smiled at him professionally. Yeah, I want to know what you think about our resident albino chick. I saw your blog on your website, and there you kind of lay it on thick. Something about some crazy event thousands of years ago?
Well, you're half right. The precipitous event took place around 1100, though.
She went on about her business, putting more books on shelves. Jason followed as she explained.
This world has been through hell. What with the otherworld's connection slowly spiraling completely out of control.
See, you lost me again there, sister. You are on quite a roll. She sighed and smiled once again and held out her hand to him.
Pleased to meet you, sir. My name is Patty Hallett, and all I've been telling you isn't a whim.
Never said it was. There's something weird about that girl.
So you met her before? What was she like? I hear she's pale as a pearl.
She's interesting, to say the least. So what was this event?
Basically a legend that simply states something cosmic is happening at present, and has been happening since the 1100s, where another dimension and ours collided, and now the two are unraveling fast, and you're not listening,
she chided. Mostly 'cause I'm looking at that monster staring at me from outside. Patty's eyes widened as her door flung open, and Jay Sean ran to hide. A werewolf-like creature about 7 feet tall barreled in right at Patty. Patty stood her ground with surprising confidence and said,
"That's a good boy, laddie. Come to sister, we'll take care of you."
And when it got there, she sidestepped it. It landed inside the ancient book's cage, and she very quickly locked it. The monster thrashed inside the cage, angrily snarling and trouncing about. Patty put her hands on her hips.
"Stupid man. Now I'm out."
She turned her attention to Jay Sean, who sat staring at the beast.
"Come on, I'll buy you a drink. It's the very least that I can do after a sight like this. My brother can be quite the pain sometimes. I need a pint or two to relax me bones, and you look like you need to unwind. There's no one coming in this store while Ted is in his fog. Come on, man, have a drink with me down at the Handsome Hog."
Darkness was upon Ballyshannon. It was too hot to work in the day, and so at the ruins of Cullahill Castle, they worked the night away. The archaeologists were led by native Theodore Hallett V. His fathers worked on this same site. Its secrets they tried to lift.
"Sir,"
a grunt called as he put his shovel down.
"I think I found the entrance to the King's Crown."
That passage by name was legendary. Very few thought it was real. Ted hopped down into the pit to get a better feel. Sure as sure, a single-file tunnel marked with engravings and art had been unearthed by his new grunt member, the one who was named Bart. "Get a team together, Johnny. We're going in."
"Can't we wait for tomorrow, Teddy? What if there's beasties within?"
"We're going down, and that is that. This is an amazing find. They say kings stored their treasures here. Let's see what kind of kinds." Into the darkness they crept along. The cold wind rattled their bones. Everyone but Ted looked freaked out. The tunnel seemed to drone. "Johnny, shine your light over here." Johnny didn't respond.
"I think he went out to get some supplies."
"I hope that you're not wrong." They continued further and heard something sniff. "What's wrong, Connor? You smelling something?"
"No, but something is."
"Where's Connor? Where'd he go?"
"Probably to the fridge. I heard his tum-tum rumbling a little bit ago."
Bart suddenly cried out in alarm, and Ted was all that was left to show. A low and primal growl emanated from the hall, and forward loped a two-legged hound. Ted pressed against the wall. Its forelimbs were shaped like a man's, but clawed like a rabid dog. He had no doubt this was a werewolf, and to his death he had slogged. There was a shining pendant of stone around the beast's broad neck. Ted grabbed it and jerked with all his might, trying to choke it to death. But the pendant broke free and hit the wall. The stone was shattered there. The werewolf instantly turned to gold treasures, and Ted just couldn't leave it there. He grabbed a necklace to confirm all was real, and he ran out of that tomb. But as he ran in the moonlight, he felt a sudden gloom. He limped right over to their tents and saw Bart's mirror there. He jumped and roared at the image he saw, a werewolf holding its stare. He backed away, as did the wolf, and he suddenly realized he was now a werewolf too, and he howled into the skies. Patty Hallett sat with Jay Sean. His jaw dropped open in shock. Patty Hallett chugged down her beer and then wiped some foam from her smock.
My brother changes back and forth, not knowing when it'll happen. But sure enough, he is the werewolf of this town, Shannon.
That's insane. I'm not sure I believe it, even though I saw it myself. Patty leaned into the table's low light.
Kamina, there's an elf.
She pointed to a short bartender. Jay Sean looked puzzled the more. What the heck are you saying now?
To wake up and see what's sure. There are more creatures hereabouts in this world than anyone knows. These secrets aren't very well kept. You just have to look past your nose. There are giants and fairies and spirits and more. But no one will just look out their front door. People love to be ignorant of the wonder of this world. They say fairy tales are hogwash, meant for boys and girls. But I know the truth, and the truth is this. This world is more wondrous than you thought could exist.
Kumina, the alleged elf, came over and refilled Patty's mug of beer with a brew both frothy and chilled. Kumina looked like a tiny woman around the age of 22. She wore a baggy knitted hat in patterns of red and blue. Her hair and hat would have covered her ears, if pointed they really were, and Kumina didn't look very pleased with the things Patty had conferred.
Couldn't help but overhearing you're telling this one my secret. Tell me why I shouldn't slit your throat, Miss Pretty Patty Hallett.
Jay Sean grabbed a steak knife and slid it into his sleeve. Kumina put a hand on his wrist and said to him,
Honey, please. If I wanted to kill either of you, I'd have done it by now. Kumina comes from a warrior tribe. This conversation I'll allow, as long as you let me tell my own tale. Patty has a way of lying, over-dramatizing the facts to fantasy for anyone who's inquiring.
Patty went to protest, but Jay Sean gave her a look, and Kumina sat down. Her time she took.
I was part of the Protector clan, out in Otherworld. I protected the conduits who kept the link connected between their and our little world. I had it all, fortune and fame and a fiancé that was mine. Till one day, I was framed for his murder. I was stuck with the crime. Unlike your world here, where things are black and white, I was sentenced on a middle ground, where they said there was not enough light to see what could have been found. So neither guilty nor innocent, I was banished to Earth instead, to live out the rest of my immortal days in nothing but sadness and dread.
Patty put a hand on her shoulder, and Jay Sean felt pangs too. The story Kumina told brought sympathy for the little elf who was so blue. She pulled the corner of her hat up to show Jay Sean it was true. Her ear was long and pointed underneath. This changed all that he knew. So you were a protector too?
Two, he says, Patty dear. I haven't heard of a protector in these parts for over 100 years. He is one. He has the mark.
Jay Sean looked confused.
and I believe the last conduit is in Ballyshannon, but he is less than enthused. Well, we've got to show him his path then, don't we?
You two are crazy for reals. Jason got up to leave the table without even paying for his short meal. But when Jason got to the front door, he looked out and saw a sight. A snarling, hairy wolfman beast making everyone run in fright. Patty came running.
Ted got out! We have to capture him now, before he hurts anyone else, or hurts himself somehow.
Patty looked pleadingly at Kumina, who now looked very annoyed.
More cleaning up your mess? I am overjoyed.
The elf took off her apron.
To me, a debt you owe. Just give me a second to get my armor, my quiver, and my bow.
Kumina scampered off, and Patty looked out concerned. She looked up to Jason, who looked petrified.
If there's one thing you must have learned from your grandma, it's to step up and assist. I need your help now, Protector Jason. Things might be at their bleakest.
Patty pointed, and Jason looked, and he saw Zoe Wallace being attacked. She had climbed up to an awning above a shop, but the werewolf would not move back.
If she is killed, this world will collapse, and beauty will be forever gone. Please help us, Protector Grogan, sir. Please help us, brave Jason.
Look, just stop it. You're so dramatic. I'll help save whoever I can. But we're waiting for Kumina to get back. She's the one with the plan. She's also got some arrows, too, if she wasn't talking in metaphor. Just chill with me. He hasn't seen us. Just chill for a few minutes more. Patty grabbed a cricket bat from off the wall at the pub. Jason grabbed himself one, too, to use as a sort of club. The werewolf man was almost upon her. Zoe trembled and backed away. Now there was no time to wait for Kumina. They had to fight this day. Jason said a little prayer. Then they dashed out at the beast. Patty swung at the beast's knees and took him off his feet. Zoe screamed and turned and ran. The beast caught Jason's bat. He splintered it within his grip and roared on top of that. Jason and Patty took a step or two back, but Patty barked in his face.
Get down, Ted! I know you're in there! Get back to the safe place!
Ted's roar turned to a guttural growl, and Patty pushed forward toward him.
Ted, I am not letting you do this! Do you hear me? Are you within?
Ted backed up into a corner, his werewolf form unsure. Patty reached out to touch him, but he swatted at her more. Then, from atop a nearby wall, in the alley they had led him to, they heard a song in Irish sung by a voice that was solemn and blue. Jason looked up and saw Zoe, or Ziona, as she said her name was. She was singing to the beast below, and he whined and raked his claws against the brick of the wall that separated him from his pale white prey. But Ted Hallett, in werewolf form, would not get her this day. An arrow from Kumina's bow flew down the alley and hit Ted's backside and penetrated deep, and the beast began to quit. Ted turned back into a man, naked, in that alleyway. Patty pulled the arrow right out. Are you sure that's the way?
He still has healing powers going, up to an hour after he's changed. If I left that arrow in his rear, his seat he'd need to rearrange.
That still doesn't really explain how he fell asleep like that. Kumina came down the alleyway, swaggering like a cat.
You sure waited long enough? I had to find my bow. It's very seldom I get to use it now. Come on, pick him up and let's go.
I don't like this, guys. What if his sleepiness is a trick?
It isn't, numbskull. I did it. The secret's in my spit.
Say what? Jason exclaimed in shock. Are you telling me you got venom?
It won't kill you, but it'll make you sleep. We need to get him some denim.
Jason turned and looked up the wall. Zoe was still standing there. She smiled and quietly stared at them all, her gratitude expressed with a glare. Why don't you come down and join us, Zoe? Maybe it's time you had some fun.
Aye, I'll treat you all to a pint. A pint? Let me show you how it's done.
They all laughed and Zoe climbed down the wall, and they all went to get Ted's clothes. And soon enough, they ended up at the Handsome Hog to celebrate and drown their woes. When all was said and all was done, they sat together, their battle was won. Patty filled Ted in as much as she could, then Zoe told stories of evil and good. She told them of the event that was set off in time, and how Earth and Otherworld continued to unwind. She told them of the conduits who bound the worlds together, and the ancient plan for how Jay Sean thought she was clever. Then she told them all about her woes and of her mirth to be the last living conduit on planet Earth. At this revelation, the table went silent with dread. Are you saying without you, we would all be dead?
Not quite dead, but you'd be lifeless. This world continues to slow. All wondrous and fantastic activity that allows this world to grow. If its bond with Otherworld is severed for a moment, all beauty and joy would cease to exist, and a similar fate would be reckoned to the people of Otherworld. They'd be more like abstract thoughts, floating around with no concrete form. I guess you can connect the dots. You need help right away, and we'll be there for you. I say we make Jay Sean the leader. All who think it's cool?
What? Everyone raised their hand in a moment. Jay Sean looked around and sighed. This isn't something I should be scared of. In fact, I take some pride. We're the last protectors on Earth. We'll protect Zoe to the death. I've accepted that this is the reason why God gave me breath. And so the conduit had her protectors. But safe would she always be? There's many a thing in Ballyshannon. I suppose we'll read on and see. This has been Craic In The World, written, produced, and performed by Joshua David Ling. To continue this story, check out joshuadavidling.com/CTW. Stay tuned for a preview of the next episode. When ancient halls reveal their truth, the gang discovers something strange.
These are the spells that rewrap our worlds and knit up their long-injured bones.
Through Celtic art and glowing proof, 1,000-year plans within range.
And if we can hold these two worlds together for 1,000 years, then the cracks in time and space will heal, and there will be no more fears.
But at the Handsome Hog that day, a family's not what they seem.
What's with the couple over there, and them feeding their little girl?
When parents stare in eerie ways while their child lives the dream. We are not hungry now, nor are we thirsty. Through books they search as night descends to find what evil lurks. I've got it. Guys, this thing is like mega bad. We've got a serious problem. A child of heart who never bends, and deadly magic works.
I want to go home now! You find that portal back to my home, or I'll butcher her like a cow!
When guns are drawn and threats are made, the portal's power calls.
Take me back to Otherworld! Take me back right now!
Will worlds survive this desperate raid, or will everything fall? Craic In The World, Episode 2, The Child of Heart. Coming soon to joshuadavidling.com.
For more episodes of Poets at War, please visit joshuadavidling.com or check us out on YouTube, Spotify, and anywhere you get your podcast transmissions. This is Sergeant Ollie, signing out.
God of song, said the warrior bard, though all the world betray thee, one sword at least thy right shall guard.